Welcome to today's Elden Ring DLC video. Shadow of the Erdtree has been a blast, and I have the amazing Johnny Blazer build guide for you guys. A lot of very cool stuff with this build, a lot of variations that I've tested out before and while I'm making this video on my stream as well. I want to showcase it to you guys. Before we do that, I want to show my appreciation to the community by announcing two giveaways. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake, is going to be coming out. We got a copy for you guys, multiple copies. Leave a comment and you're subscribed. I will be selecting winners and announcing them on the video, as well as Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's another one. Both of those are in the description as well, so you can know how to enter. Good luck to all you guys. Just showing love and appreciation. With that out of the way, you're watching me test it for the first time on a giant, and I'll continue to test it and explain the way this build is meant to be played and the different variations that I had with this that I really loved and enjoyed a ton. Okay, first and foremost, this is using the brand new item that I absolutely love. It is the Perfume, which basically lets you put different elements, and this is just for fire right now, but we might have variations for ice and for poison, and there's gonna be a good variety of this depending on how you want to play. But the similar setup and the concept of what I'm going to show you, give you just a quick breakdown of more or less what to expect from this, is the main thing you want to take away from it. And then we can get into other things. So, first and foremost, we'll get into the attributes after, but I want to talk a little bit about some gameplay aspects with this. This does have very good range. I mean, longer than a sword, but you're stuck in an animation to pull it off, and it's not going to be the easiest thing to use against boss fights and things like that. So you want to be very careful, know when to strike, using dodge and things like that. And there's a bunch of different Asher Wars that I've been trying. I have three in mind, but I'm going to tell you about two. I have a really good one with the legendary Doghound step, and then you have the original one that it comes with, which allows you to throw smoke everywhere. I'm going to showcase all of those, but I just wanted to show you guys a couple of boss fights and a couple of different things that I did to, let's just say, be able to beat anything in the game. I did play the Dancing Lion as well, which I'll show you guys the footage in a second. And that was a very cool fight. But again, being able to hold your own with a weapon like this, very key. So before we continue, I want to take a moment and just show you guys exactly what this build can do when it comes to its attacks. So when you're holding one hand, this is how you'll throw things. Personally, I always rock two hands because you're going to do a double attack like that. That's for the light. Then the heavy, when you hold it, it does a spinning attack. And if you just tap it, it'll do just a front attack. Really good. I love the running attack with this. Very good. And then the jump attack also can do some good damage, okay? These are the kind of things that you can do with this that's very critical. Personally, Doghound Step, it allows me to get away from an attack and then hit somebody with the special. And it's very, very important that you do it that way if you're going to make this kind of build, because it's a certain playstyle, very different than what you're used to, but can be fun and interesting if you put it together properly, as you'll see continuous in my videos and so on. Now, before we get into it, I want to show you guys the gear and all of that good stuff. I made a video breaking down how to get this and a bunch of other items right away at the start of the game, so you don't have to grind through the whole game to get one item. You can get this at the very start and you'll be good to go, and then you can use it as a primary weapon, which is what I have. Now, the seal that I use is a low requirement seal for this specific startup build, but in the end of the day, I'll switch it out for the golden order. There's a lot of different ones that in here that you might want to try. But the reason I have the seal, I'll break it down in a minute, which is the ability to buff yourself with some flames, because you have flames, of course, and then gold. You don't really need this one, but I just like to have it in there for the heck of it. I do have a spell specifically because I boosted up some faith. But if you don't really need that, and I hardly use it to be honest with you. It's just a long range ball of fire, which is pretty cool, but it's unnecessary. You can see right here, that right there. And so for me, I like it. Not necessarily something that you need, but the Giant's Flame take thee would be the answer for that. Now let's get into the gear. I personally have this on specifically so it could look like, you know, Ghost Rider, Johnny Blaze style. And I love that. But you need to fight a boss that, you know, does a lot of electricity. You want to put on something with lightning and all that. You switch it all up. Let's get into the Talisman. Oh, wait a minute. And this is a live recording while I'm streaming, so just got attacked there. But the Talisman, I use all of these right here. These are perfect, but you can always swap one out. If you got suggestions, leave it in the comments. Basically, the God free icon allows you to get your skill off consistently. I pop my skill all the time with this, so it's gonna enhance it when I do pop it. Guess what? I'm using Bloodhound now, so I can take this out and switch it out for something even more dynamic. We'll get into that in a minute. But number one, of course, the Fire Scorpion charm is going to allow you to raise your fire attacks. Everything you do is fire, so always is a must. This is for boss fights. You want to negate any physical damage. You're going to be in the mix a lot. So this is just a helpful survival tool. Then you have, of course, the one and the only Shard of Alexander. If you like using your skills, this is probably the key one to put on. Big part of for me is important. So I can swap this out when it comes to the Godfrey one, and you can start looking around to see what you might need. If you need to negate someone survive a little better, you can throw some survival in there. Always good to have survival, which I have a video that I'm going to be doing and putting up soon. I like stamina recovery, so you can pick up the Green's Turtle. There's a new one that I haven't got on this account yet, but I will, and it's basically even higher stamina recovery, and it's key. Actually, I'm going to be doing that right after I make this video. And so those are the two that I'll put, and the reason why I wanted to talk about that for a second is because your stamina doesn't necessarily do good with this build because you're eating it up at all times. You can see it recovers quickly enough as far as not gonna actually be too harmful, but it's because I have a lot. Imagine if you just had a very little and you're spamming your attacks and you're just consistently hitting. Yeah, I'm doing it right now, and you can see my stamina's going down, and I have like 40 stamina right now. So that's not exactly the best idea to not have something like that. You can switch it out and make it work for yourself as you go forward. And we're gonna jump in to the attributes a little later, but I did want to jump into the Ashes of War and explain that yes, you can swap this around and play with it. Personally, the Bloodhound Step is always my favorite for builds like this because it takes a long time to get into animation. So you have to get in and out of animations with the Doghound Step, and it's critical that you have this on, in my opinion. Super important. But I have played with this a lot, and you'll see it in the footage. I'm gonna showcase some more boss stuff. This right here, Ball of Sparks, basically allows you to put up, and to me this is a really good one for this build, kind of like a trap. I'll just throw it out and then it'll throw flames. So as someone's coming towards me, I start throwing up the sparks and it'll delay and then pop off later and basically stagger them. And I'll pop it twice in a row sometimes. And it really works well. And it's super good for this kind of build. But it depends on your playstyle. Again, I'm very aggressive. So the Bloodhound is number one. For the runes, personally, I use Godric just for the attributes. You want to have better attributes with this to be able to buff yourself up. Then, of course, fire, number one, flame, shrouded, cracked tier. This is number one. And then I have the stamina here for stamina recovery. Like I was telling you, this eats up a lot of stamina when you're running around doing all that good stuff. Spells, again, you are fire, so you can put on any fire spells that you might love. There's a bunch of them in this game, so whatever you think is good, If you're doing PvP, personally, Catch Flames has been my all-time favorite for PvP, and you're using this type of build, but it's not necessary for PvE when you're playing through the story, DLC, and all that stuff. It's more of a PvP one. But there's a bunch of them, and we'll do some PvP builds in the future. I just wanted to kind of give you guys the concept of this build. Now we're gonna get into the most important part to help you get started. At 150, level 150 or so is gonna be where I want you guys to be at when you go and check this out and you put these attributes on more or less. I'm gonna give you the example of what you should be doing. Right? Johnny Blazer build guide. Here it goes. So vigor at 50 is the minimum. For me personally, everybody tends to try to manipulate things. In the end of the day, the bosses hit very hard, and I'm talking some of the top tier bosses really one-shotting you. If they grab you, there's certain moves that are just too powerful. So 50 is the minimum, but you can always go higher. And then for mind, you're not using mind a lot. It might look like you're casting a spell, but it's actually all endurance. So you don't really need mind unless you're doing what I want to do, which is be able to use spells as well, comboing that together. Then you want to boost it up. But I have it at 20, which is too high. You can actually lower it. 15 is the lowest, but 20 is a good number so you can cast some spells. Then you have endurance. At 30 is the minimum because you want to be able to spam your attacks and survive. Okay, so you're going to be dodging, spamming attacks consistently, trying to catch people when they're vulnerable, and all of that good stuff. So it's very doable, and you should be fine with it and have a good time, in my opinion. Strength, I have it at 3, but you can put it up higher. The weapon doesn't scale with strength. So in reality, all you want to do is put dexterity in the end of the day. So if I can have it higher than 60, I'm gonna put it higher than 60, depending on what level you have. 80 is pretty much the soft cap for dexterity. You can go way higher than that if you really want to try to burn it out, but 60 is a good number and you should be fine. Intelligence, faith, and arcane aren't necessary, but with faith, like I said, you're going to cast those fire spells. You want to have the right seal and all that good stuff. Well, guess what? Have it at the requirement. I put 10 in this footage, but in reality, it could be higher because you need to be able to do your thing and cast spells if that's where you want to go with it. Okay, it's just a preference. It's no wrong or right answers. I'm gonna put on this boss real quickly and show you guys. And this is somewhat of a spoiler with the dancing lion, so please look away right before it all gets started. Seen some of it in the trailer, so it's not nothing new. If you didn't want to watch it, now's the time to step out. With that out of the way, that's some of the build breakdown. I do want to kind of just touch on a couple things that'll help you when you play this build, because you probably wonder, oh man, I can't do good with it. Well, you can if you really chose to step it up. All right. So for me personally, using Bloodhound Step allows me to be super aggressive, take a chance, get behind them, and start an animation of throwing the fire all over. Animations are very long. They're not used very good for a lot of things, especially like high level players. They're gonna have to find ways to manipulate it, and the Bloodhound Step is number one for me. But I absolutely love the perfume. It really does an AOE effect. So if you're surrounded and you can find a way to get it off, you're gonna stagger everybody and then you can run away. Same thing with a boss. This does stagger enemies pretty good. You know, it's a mini explosion that's happening. But again, having the awareness to be able to dodge them and to do all that good stuff is super important. Okay. That's top tier with this build. And of course, another quick note, the armor that I had on does not matter. You can change it into a better piece that fits your style, like I said, and go from there. As you can see, my mimic was doing some work casting spells for me, using my spells on this ball is pretty much helping me out. As you can see, I'm doing the running attack. I absolutely love that attack. It just helps you, one of the fastest ones, and it does an area of effect before it hits the target straight ahead. It's just a fun way to play. But again, you got to be very careful because some of these enemies will basically just ramsack you if you try to do the bigger attacks. Okay. But being careful with that. That's how that works. But yeah, that's pretty much the build. I think, out of all the new elements, this is one of the most refreshing because it's so different. It's not something I'm used to. Of course, I have my favorites, and it's not this. The backhand blade, which I have a build video for, it is my favorite at the moment. But I still got more testing to do and a variety of different play styles to also test. So there's no wrong answer on what you want to do. With that out of the way, again, thank you to the community by doing this, me doing the giveaways for these games. All you got to do is comment, and I will be picking a winner. Want to come back and watch and enjoy so that you can get those goods. Okay, that's the breakdown for this video. Right now, there should be a guide on how to get all 50 Scadutree fragments in this game. Okay, and you can get pretty much 80+%. You can make it to level 17 out of 20 without fighting any of the major bosses. Probably fighting like 2 bosses or 3, and then you'll have all of those. Well, maybe more than 3, maybe 5 in total, but should be fine. Should be popping up on screen right now. Enjoy that. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.